ሰላም ተማሪዎች እንደምን አላችሁ? ዛሬ freshman mathematics particularly science history ይዤላችሁ መጥቻለሁ። This freshman mathematics course consists 4 chapters. The first one, propositional logic and set theory. You are familiar with propositional or proposition or statement as well as set theory. In case of set theory, it starts from grade 7 to grade 12. And in case of proposition per statement, we'll see detailed properties about this one under this section. The next one, real and complex number system. In case of real number, you are familiar about this, but in case of complex number system, it says that if a function of the form x squared plus 1 is equals to 0. This implies that x squared, when take 1 to the right side, it becomes negative 1. That means the square of a real number is non-negative planar. The negative means it is 0 or greater than 0 planar. But if I have such cases, x squared is equals negative 1. The square of a number is equals negative number, it is not real number. There is no real number, because the square is negative. Instead, we have complex number. So we deal about complex number system to solve such problems. The next one, that is function. In case of relation and function, you are familiar starting from grade 10 as well as grade 11, but we'll see detail about function, types of function, and graph of functions, and so on under this section. Last one, that is analytic geometry. In this case, you are familiar about line, about circle, parabola, hyperbola, and ellipse. We'll see all those things under this section. So, freshman mathematics consists of 4 chapters. These are propositional logic and set theory, real and complex number system, functions, and last one, analytic geometry. We'll see each of them in detail with an explanation of the examples. Let's start from the first one. The first chapter says propositional logic and theory. Under this section, we have 4 subsections. We'll try to define what is proposition or statement. That means logical connectives we'll see here we have. And we'll see some proposition or statements when they are compound, when they are complex, and their truth values discussed under this section. The next one, that is open proposition and quantifier. Here we'll define what we mean by open proposition, and we'll define what is quantifiers and detailed properties related with open proposition as well as quantifiers discussed under this section. The open proposition ማለት ነው, quantifiers define እናደርጋለን, and we'll see different properties of what them. The third subsection says argument and validity. We'll define what we mean by argument, and when we say that argument is valid ነው የምንለው መቼ ነው የሚለውን with different examples as well as explanation we'll see under this section. The last, this is the 4th subsection, that is set theory. In case of set theory, we'll try to define what is set, what are operations on set, what are the different representation of sets, and so on, with detailed examples also discussed under this section. So let us come to the first one, propositional logic. Before we are dealing about propositional logic or proposition, let us see what meant by declarative sentence. Declarative sentence ምን ማለት ነው የሚለውን እናያለን። Declarative sentence is a sentence that makes a statement or expresses an idea የምንገልጽበት facts እውነትና opinions or actions የመሳሰሉትን in detail or express ልናደርግበት የምንችለው statement we call that is declarative sentence. Or it is simply declare something. It tells rather than asking or commands or exclaims, it describes or declares something. Or the other case, declarative sentence ends with period, or this is full stop. Is the most common types of sentence in both English and mathematics. We'll see some of their differences. Ski declarative sentence difference in English and mathematics ላይ ያለውን ልዩነት let us see with examples in everyday English. You say that the sentence says the sky is blue. This is declarative sentence as well as it states facts. Yes, it is fact. The other one, I love mathematics, it says. It is declarative, but it states the opinion of someone. Opinion ያሳየናል ማለት ነው. The other one, it says what? The water boils at 100 degrees centigrade. It is state fact. Yes, we learn in science, we say that water boils at 100 degrees centigrade and freezes at 0 degrees centigrade, and so on. We say this all are declarative sentences that state facts. The next one, she is reading a book. What is she is doing now? It is a declarative sentence, but state what? An action. ምን እያደረገች ነው የሚለውን አክሽኑን ድርጊቷን ይገልጻል ማለት። So these are some of the examples that we consider in English. They are declarative sentence and they are expressing facts, opinions as well as actions የመሳሰሉትን ያሳያሉ ማለት። Let us come to 4 examples in mathematics or logic. If we consider the first one, it says 2 plus 3 is equals 5. Yes, it is true. It is declarative statement or sentence and it is true. A true statement. 7 is prime number. Yes, it is a declarative sentence and it is true statement. X plus 2 is equals 5. The sum of x plus 2 is equals 5. It is declarative sentence, but it can be true or false depending on the value of x. It depends on the value of x. When x is 3, it says what? 3 plus 2 it is 5. Yes, it is correct. So it becomes what? True statement or true declarative statement when x is equals 3. Otherwise, if x is different from 3, n number, you have to consider 1 plus 2, that is 3, 3 is equal to 5. It is false statement. So it is declarative as well as it depends on the value of x to say the given statement whether it is true or false. The other one, every even number is divisible by 2. Even number. You have to consider any even number. That means let's say 2n. For n is element of, say, natural number. You can consider this one. When divided by 2, what result? This is equals n. n is element of natural number, yes. So it's declarative as well as it is general truth. It is general truth. So these are, in case of mathematics, what kind of them? The statement can be what? True or false. They may indicate what? The general truth or some mathematical logics. We say our statement whether it is true or false. I think it is visible their difference. You see the difference between what? A declarative sentence or statement in English as well as in mathematics or logic. So let us come to 4 mathematics. In mathematics, declarative sentences based on matter are often called propositions or we call these statements. We can use them interchangeably in the propositions or statements because they can be clearly labeled what? As true or false statements. As true or what? We can say false. So every proposition has what? A truth value. Truth value normal. That truth value either what? That may be what? True or it is what? False. So in mathematics, when we say that proposition or statement is a declarative sentence that can be true or false, but not both. If that's so, we call that is proposition or statement. Let's come to the definition. A proposition or a statement is a declarative sentence, declare የሚያደርግ sentence which has a truth value either true or false, but not both. If that's so, we call this proposition or statement እንለዋለን። statement ማለት የሆነ ሴንተንስ ወይም ዲክላራቲቭ ሴንተንስ ሆኖ ነገር ግን that sentence is true ወይም false ሊሆን የሚችል but not both ሁለቱንም ሊሆን የማይችል መሆን አለበት ማለት ነው። Determine whether the following sentence is a statement or not. Let us see. 2 is an even number. Yes, 2 is even number. Yes. This is 2 is an even number. It is divided by 2. A true statement. Yes, it is a statement. We call this a statement. A triangle has 4 sides. As 3, that is 3 sides yellow figure. ስለሆነ it has 4 sides. It is a statement, but it is what? False statement, we can't say. May God bless you. Can't say this is true or false. May God bless you. We can't say this is true or false. So it is not a statement. What is your name? When someone asks your name may be what? Tamasken or Brahanu or Alamu or Muhammad and so on. In that case, you are not saying that it is true or false. Instead, ምንድነው የምታደርጉት? ስምህን ነው እንጂ የምትነግረው true ነው ወይም false ነው ብለን ልንገልጸው አንችልም። What is your name የሚለው so it is not a statement. The C shows that it exclaims. The case of D shows that this is a question, asking the question of your name. So this questions exclaims or do not show the statement part or proposition. Since we can't say them either true or false. Because of this, they are not considered as a statement or proposition. አይባሉም consider አናደርጋቸውም ማለት ነው. Like statement or proposition. Since we are not saying true ወይም false ማለት ስለማንችል. Let us consider the next one. When have different prepositions or statements, we can combine them using what? Logical connectives. As the name indicates, logical connectives, we can connect or 2 or more statements or proposition using this logical connective. That are 5. The first one, that is conjunction, or we can say this is and. The next one, disjunction, we call this is or. Implication, we call this is if then. This is conditional statement. The next one, by implication, it works in both sides, so we call this is if and only if, or sometimes we call IFF. Negation, it is what? Not. That means if truth value of our statement is true, then not true means what? It is what? False. If the truth value of our statement is false, then not of that, it becomes what? True. So we call this is negation, not. Now we can summarize these 5 logical connectives when we connect two propositions using them. If we have two propositions P and Q, let proposition P and Q be known. Here we have the options P when P is true, at the same time Q may be true. When P is true, as similarly Q is that is false. When P is false, Q becomes true. When both are false, ሁለቱም false ሊሆን ይችላል. This is the option we have. ስለዚህ if we combine them by and, or this is conjunction, in this case it is true if and only if what? Both are true. Otherwise, either of them is false. It is truth value when combine them using conjunction, it is false. በኤንድ ጊዜ ወይም conjunction ስናደርግ እውነት ሊሆኑ የሚችሉት ሁለቱም ምን ሲሆኑ ነው? true ሲሆኑ ብቻ ነው። In case of disjunction, it is false if and only if both are false. ሁለቱ false ሲሆኑ ብቻ። Otherwise, either of them is true or at least one of them is true. In that case, the whole system becomes true in case when combine or connect to propose disjunction. In case of if then or implies, it is false when we call this is P is what? Hypothesis. Q we call that is conclusion. And if the hypothesis that is P is true and the conclusion that Q is false, at that time the whole system P implies Q false. Otherwise, in the other option, it is true. The next one, in case of by implication, we call this is P equivalent with Q. To be true, both of them have the same truth value. The same truth value means what? Both are true as well as both are false. In that case, when we combine them using if and only if, or by implication, the whole system, the truth value of the system becomes what? That is true. This is true when both are true. This is true when both are false. They have different truth values. P እና Q የተለያየ truth value ካላቸው means one true the other false, one false the other true ከሆነ in that case the whole system when combine P and Q using by implication it becomes false. In case of negation, that means if our statement that is P is true, then the result of this negation that is false. If when P is false, then the negation it becomes what? True. So these are the 5 logical connectives that we will see in our next section. ስለዚህ when you combine two of the preposition we have P and Q, we call this is compound statement or compound proposition እንለዋለን. Compound means what? Combination 3 or more statements using this logical connectives, we call that is what? Complex statements. Let us consider this some examples. It says that P that is 3 is an odd number. Q it says what? 27 is prime number. 3 is odd number means yes it is what? Odd number. Is that so? This is a true statement. That means P is true. Q 27 is prime number. Is it prime number? No, it is composite number since it has factors. Factoroቹ ማናቸው? 1, 3, 9 and 27. It has 4 factors. This means it is composite numbers. Is that so? This statement is it is false. ይሄኛው false. So when combined using and, የመጀመሪያውን በconjunction ስናያይዛቸው true and false ምን ይሆናል? It is false. true መሆን የሚችሉት በኤንድ ጊዜ ምን ብለናል? ሁለቱም true ሲሆኑ ብቻ ነው። When combine them using disjunction that is or, true or false, it is what? True ይሆናል። ለምን? At least one of them is true ከሆነ when combine them using or connect them using disjunction or ምን ይሆናል? It is true. When consider in case of implies, P implies Q. P is true. hypothesis true ነው. If 3 is an odd number, then 27 is what? A prime number, it says. Yes, the first one that is true, the second one that is false, so true implies false, it is false ይሆናል። When combined by implication, this is true, it is false ይሆናል። Negation of P true ነው, negation ሆኗል, it is false ይሆናል። Negation of Q ስንወስድ that is false ነው, it becomes what? True ይሆናል ማለት ነው። ስለዚህ በዚህ አይነት መንገድ ሌሎችንም የተለያዩ ኤግዛምፕሎች መስራት ይቻላል ማለት ነው። Using what? Our logical connectives that we discussed. Conjunction, disjunction, implies, and by implies as well as negation. The way of expressing using this table ነው ያለው. This is table. it has rows and columns, so it is a table. We call this is truth table. The way of expressing the combination of prepositions using a table, we call that is the truth table. As observed here, ሁለት preposition ወስደናል. It has what? 4 rows, 4 alternative ones. So for any n prepositions, if you have n preposition, you have what? To the power of n rows. Components of rows ሲኖር 2 ሲሆን ምን ይሆናል ማለት to the power of 2 4 ይሆናል 3 ሲሆኑ to the power of 3 options ይኖሩናል ማለት ነው so we call this is a truth table ይለዋል let us consider the other one is ways of expressing proposition or statement የምንገልጽበት like this is implies meaning ይሆናል ማለት there are different ways of what expressing this is what when you combine two statements by implies እናያይዝ you may say that if p then q this is what another naming of what p implies q if what that is p implies what that is q p only if q p is sufficient for q or q is necessary for p all of this p implies q እነዚህ በሙሉ ምንን ይገልጻሉ ማለት ነው this is p implies q የሚለው ይገልጻሉ so q if p if say that is p implies q p only if what q የሚል ምን ይሆናል p implies q መሆኑን እናያለን ማለት ነው so you'll see all this alternative of expressing p implies q. The next one, in case of p by implies q, it has p if and only if q. We can express such forms. Or p if q means what? If and only if q. The same q if and only if p also works. P implies q and q implies p. It's also what? Naming like this. P implies q or what? Q implies p also the same as p by implies q. P is necessary and sufficient for Q. Q is necessary as well as sufficient for P. The other thing that we mention, we may say that P is equivalent to Q. When Q is equivalent to P, we can interchange them vice versa. That means P is equivalent to Q or Q is equivalent to P, we can say. So all these options indicate P by implies Q. ስለዚህ በሙሉ ይሄንን ይገልጻሉ ማለት ነው ስለዚህ በተለያየ way express by implication ይሆናል ማለት the other one we consider that is negation given any proposition P ቢኖረን or statement P we can form the proposition that is negation of P symbolized by this one called negation of P the truth value of negation of P is false መቼ ነው negation false የሚሆነው not P ብለናል not P means when P is what? True. If it is true, then the result this is the truth value that is false. The other one, it is true when the truth value of P that is false. True. Consider the following propositions. P that is 3 is an odd number. That is the true statement as we mentioned before. 27 is a prime number. This is a false statement as we said before. Nairobi is the capital city of Ethiopia. Is it capital city of Ethiopia? No. The capital city of Ethiopia ዋና ከተማ ማን ነው አዲስ አበባ ነው እንጂ ናይሮቢ አይደለም Nairobi is the capital city of Kenya so it is also a false statement so state and determine the truth value of P or Q what says that P is what 3 is an odd number or 27 is a prime number it says true or false then the whole system this becomes what that is true since one of them is true ስለሆነ true ይሆናል P or S what is P 3 is an odd number or Nairobi is the capital city of Ethiopia 3 is odd number yes true no Nairobi is the capital city of Ethiopia it is false so when combine them using disjunction it is a true statement the next one P implies S P is what 3 if 3 is an odd number yes then Nairobi is the capital city of Ethiopia it says our hypothesis that is P true no the conclusion S is that is false no it is what this is false why it is false since the hypothesis is true but the conclusion is false at this time when you combine two propositions with hypothesis and conclusion by using implies the truth value that is false when this hypothesis is true and the conclusion is false and the other one S by implies Q it says what is S the truth value of S that we say that is false the truth value of Q we say this is what also false so they have the same truth value S እና Q ምን አላቸው እዚህ ጋር አንድ አይነት truth value ስላላቸው the whole system the result it becomes what true ይሆናል by implies ጊዜ ምን ብለናል they are true መሆን የሚችሉት ሁለቱም the same truth value ሲኖራቸው the same truth value ማለት ነው both have the same truth value either true or what both are false ሁለቱም true ወይም ሁለቱም false ሲሆኑ እዚህ ጋር ስለ definition of preposition and as well as statement or statement ምን አይተናል definition of preposition or that is statement አይተናል at the same time logical connectives we'll see in this course የምናያቸው logical connectives 5 logical connectives አይተናል conjunction or and disjunction or implies or if then by implies that means by implication አይተናል then last one negation not of p የሚለውን አይተናል እና እነዚህና የመሳሰሉትን ጥያቄዎች ሞጁላችሁ ላይ ያሉትን መስራት ትችላላችሁ ማለት so please do and practice exerciseአችሁን ስሩት practice አድርጉ ችግር ካለ ኮሜንት ላይ አስቀምጡ at the same time ቻናሉን share subscribe እና like ማድረጋችሁን አትርሱ ምክንያቱም ሌሎችም የዚህ ድል ተጠቃሚ መሆን ስላለባቸው next time ሌሎች ፕሮፐርቲዎችን ይዤላችሁ መጣለሁ bye bye